Alright guys, welcome back to the second video concerning the Fusion and Link Festival. In the last video, which is linked in the top right corner, I have explained what I think are the best decks that you can take to this event. Now I will show you the most budget decks, even though it's not that easy here, so enjoy and let me know in the comments what you think of my picks. So as always, we are going to take a look at the loner decks first, and the loner decks, before I show you some decks that I made, actually give us an interesting hint of what we could be playing, but the loner decks as always have some weaknesses that we could theoretically fix. So in a lot of events that we are playing, a Dark Magician is kind of like a viable deck, and it's cheap because you can get it from the structure deck. They basically also only have structure deck stuff in here minus this infinite impermanence, and this already gives you a hint. This is not a bad deck list, but obviously there's way too little non-engine in here. I'm kind of surprised that we even have like triple ash, triple imperm. This is more than they usually give us, but obviously if you want to take this deck, and we will compare it with the other loner decks in a second here, if you want to take this deck, it's not that hard to play, so this kind of works. You have Red Eyes Dark Dragoon in here, which is definitely a very strong card. But what you could obviously also do if you have the Dark Magician stuff, and most of you will have it because it's only 1,500 from structure decks, you might also have a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which you don't need thrice, but one is definitely enough. But you can also just go ahead and use your Dark Magician deck, put out some of these bricks, let's say, for example, you don't need triple Dark Magician here, and put in a more non-engine. I will also talk about the non-engine that you can get for free or for cheaply, obviously, in my decks that I made. But something like Duel, like DD Crow, if you don't have the other ones, you will have an Ash Blossom, you will have a Talents, because you can get it from the pack in the shop, which you should always get. Watch my beginner guide if you're not aware of that. A Ghost Spell is there. There is also the Judgment is actually banished for this event, but we have a Lightning Storm that you can play. So just put out some stuff here and put in more non-engine. So I would go minus these Dark Magicians. This can stay, I think. Then I would also maybe minus one Timeos. I would keep the Illusion. The Pre-Prep is okay. Then I would take this out, I think. The Bond Between. Red Eyes Dark Fusion you obviously want to have. You might even, not quite sure whether this is at 1, but if it is not, I would maybe bump this up to 2. Salvation can stay, I guess. So it's mainly putting out these Dark Magicians, and then one Timeos for more non-engine minus this one here. And you, I guess, can, yeah, if you control monsters who original Dark Magician and Dark Magician, Girl, destroy cards your opponent controls. I would also probably not play this. It's not super likely to get this. So I would put these out for more non-engine. Otherwise, this is an okay loner deck. The second one, and this is a good inspiration, is Muskets of Fiendish Magic, which we are playing the Magical Muskets here, which is actually a very strong deck, especially going second, because you can make this guy the Magical Musketeer Max. Says at Magical Musket, spell traps with different names from your deck to your hand up to the number of monsters your opponent controls, or special summon Magical Musket monsters with different names from your deck up to the number of spells traps your opponent controls. You can play very strongly into a board. I will show you a version in a second, which I think is better because we have a bit too much Magical Musket in here, some strange cards that you don't really want to play. There's just too much Magical Musket and too little non-engine. Once again, I like this Pot of Desires, which makes sense here because we have a lot of 3-offs in here. But once again, I would just go ahead and build my own version of that. I will show you one in a second here. By the way, the Magical Musketeer Max is the only ultra rare that you need here, and there are some good extra deck cards in here. This one is definitely better than the Dark Magician deck in my opinion, especially because you have some nice extra deck stuff in here. Could end up on a Nightmare Griffin if you can place it not in your main link zone. Then this is very strong and can potentially just win you the game. You have a good going second option via the Magical Musketeer Max, and if you're not aware of this Magical Musketeer thingy, then it's basically all of these spells and traps can be activated if you control a Magic Musket monster, which is actually kind of nice. And then if you activate a spell trap in the column where one of your Magical Musket base monsters is, they all have effects like summon another one or search another Magical Musket card. So in general, this is a cool archetype. The only ultra rare is the Max. Everything else here from the archetype, not this, for example, Ties of the Brethren, is actually super rare or below. So super cheap. Definitely the better pick when it comes to deciding between Dark Magician and Muskets. And then as a last loner deck, and I will tell you in a second what you should pick here, we have Man, Machine, Metalfoes, Warriors. What the heck? A lot of normal monsters, which I don't really think this is it, honestly. Once again, we have this Imperm Ash thing here. We have Super Pody, which I like. This is a bit more disruption. And we're obviously playing the Heavy Metalfoes Electromite, one of the strongest cards. We have a Promethean Princess and Axis Core Talker. Not bad, not bad. So I think this is better than is the Dark Magician version. But I would definitely go ahead and play an upgraded Dark Magician version over all of these loner decks. But if you want to pick one of these loner decks, which normally you can always pick one and complete the event successfully, especially because this is a smaller event, so you only have to basically climb up to 5 points to get all the gems from here. So my personal pick for the loner decks is the Magical Musket one, but I will show you 2 decks now which I think are even better and are also not that expensive. So my personal first pick is Marincess, which is always nice in these link events, basically never really hit, and the Marincess engine in and of itself only has 2 ultra rares that you need. Obviously I always say don't craft ultra rares if you don't have to, but maybe you have the Marincess stuff from earlier on. All of this other stuff is super rare or below, and I also put in some of the super rare hand traps that are kind of nice, and also hand traps that you will get from the free pack. So we have DD Crow, which I think you will see Fiendsmith here and there, and I will talk about Fiendsmith in a second. So DD Crow is kind of nice. You get an effect Veiler for free basically from the shop. Not for free, but you should have all these packs because they are very good value. Then we have Drawn in Lockbird, which I think is kind of nice in this format. Triple Drone Lockbird, only super rare. That's cool. We have Marincess Mandarin ones. We have 3 Ash Blossoms and Joy Spring. I'm just assuming that you might have 3, otherwise just put 2 out because 1 you should have from the pack. Then from the pack you can get 1 Ghost Bell. Then we have 3 Marincess Seahorse, 3 Marincess Blue Tang, 1 Marincess Pescalus, 1 Marincess Basilalima, and 3 Marincess Spring Girl, 3 Trickstar Angel, Aqua Angel, and then we have 1 Nibiru, which you can get from the pack. You can get a Lightning Storm, you can get a Triple Tactics Talents. Obviously, if you have better fitting non-engine, then go play them. This is only like the budget version I'm showing you. Only 1 Marincess Dive. Unfortunately, this is the card we would want to play more of, but it is what it is. Then here's a Battle Ocean. I would suggest you playing Caught By if you don't have them. Put them out. You get 1 Forbidden Droplet and 1 Imperm from these packs, and I've put 2 other Imperms in here. Then we are playing 1 Marincess Wave, and if you don't have cards like Dominus Impulse, you can definitely substitute with other hand traps. If you want to, maybe also a Pot could be an option here, but the Dominus Impulse will be very nice in the event, so if you have it, I would play it. Then we have 2 Marincess Blue Slug, 2 Marincess Sea Angel, 2 Marincess Coral Anemone, 1 Marincess Crystal Heart, a Splash Mage, an Area the Water Charmer, then Marincess Marbled Rock, then our Marincess Coral Triangle, 2 Great Bubble Reef, 1 Aguanaut, and 1 World Sea Dragon the Atlantis, which is a card that you don't need. So if you only have, for example, the Marincess boss monsters here, or this one is not even a boss monster, but this one definitely is. I'm not super sure. Marincess experts in the comments can let me know if you even need the Coral Triangle. Is it very important? I know that the Aguanaut is basically important and kind of like a floodgate together with the field spell. So I think Marincess in any link event is kind of a cheap option. Maybe you should or could consider getting Marincess just to have it for link events because it's not that expensive. But obviously, go ahead, check out some combo videos on the deck and figure out if you even want to invest in this or play this. Otherwise, you can also go ahead and play the loner decks or maybe the deck that I'm showing you right now. And here I took the Magical Musket deck and made another version of it. Yes, we are including the Fiendsmith stuff here. I'm kind of assuming that a lot of people will probably have the engine. If not, then it definitely could make sense to get the engine. It's very strong. It will be very relevant for a while. But once again, don't craft stuff for the event if you want to basically save resources. It's just me assuming that you will most likely have Fiendsmith stuff, and then you can definitely upgrade this Magical Musket deck here. Once again, we are playing this DD Crow, 1 Fabled Lurry, the Effect Veiler, the Drolls, the Ash Blossoms, and then we are playing triple Magical Musketeer Caspar. He and the Starfire, those are the best ones basically. Double Magical Musketeer Dog, double Magical Musketeer Kid Brave, the Ghost Bell that we can get from the pack, then the Starfire, the Lacrima, 1 Engraver, a Nib. We can play this Pot of Extravagance. I have basically, you might only want to draw for 3 here actually. I just basically filled this extra deck up with a lot of super rares and rares, like multiple copies of them, so it's very unlikely that, for example, you will banish all your Fiendsmith's Requiem or all your Fiendsmith sequence. But yeah, there's obviously a bit of a danger when it comes to the Max or to the Desiree or the Lacrima, so maybe only banish the and maybe only play this if you need to, but we are maybe lacking a bit of consistency. This is why this is in here. A Lightning Storm to break. Once again, this Talents, we are playing 1 Fiendsmith's Tract, 1 Magical Musketeer Cross Dominance, and I mean, if you don't have the Fiendsmith stuff, you can definitely push these cards up here, but I would take the Magical Musketeer Loner deck and put out a lot of the Magical Musketeer cards, keep the ones that you are seeing here, maybe go for more cross dominance or more of these trap cards that you can see right here, and then put in more non-engine without the Fiendsmith stuff. This is also an option to call by one Forbidden Droplet, one Magical Musketeer Desperado, one Dancing Dancing Needle. Then we have the Imperms. Once again, you could go with whatever you have here in terms of non-engine, one Fiendsmith in Paradise and Magical Musket Last Stand. Then the extra deck, you're playing the Lacrima, the Desiree, then the Max. This is the only ultra rare from the Magical Musketeer stuff that you really need. And then we have only super rares, 3 Requiem, 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix. Then we have Lionel the Light Charmer to maybe grab opponents' Fiendsmith stuff. Fiendsmith Sequence and Agnum Day. This also makes sense because a lot of the, or I think all of the Magical Musketeer ones are light, so you can also grab them because the Loner deck you will see from time to time, they can start your plays. And if you're not aware, any of these base monsters from Magical Musketeer, because they are light fiends, can go into Fiendsmith Requiem, thereby starting your Fiendsmith combo. So I think this is a very cheap deck that is actually very strong, and another option you could consider taking to the event if you want a more budget option. You can also go check out my best decks for the event video. It's linked in the top right corner, but for now, let me know what you think in the comments. What are you going to play? Maybe you have some ideas that you can share with the community when it comes to other budget decks that I have missed right here. Thanks for being here. Enjoy the event, and we will see each other in the next one.